The landscape around the Los Angeles Dodgers shifted abruptly over the last few hours, and it is one of those moments that forces everyone to pause and reassess where things stand heading into the season. What once looked like a realistic path toward reinforcing the starting rotation suddenly closed, and the ripple effects are being felt not just in Los Angeles, but across the entire National League. The news that Freddie Peralta is no longer in play for the Dodgers is not just about one pitcher going elsewhere. It is about how another contender is positioning itself, how the Dodgers are signaling confidence in their current structure, and how the balance of power in the league continues to evolve. Freddie Peralta is officially heading to New York, and with that move, the Mets have sent a very clear message about their intentions. They were aggressive, decisive, and willing to part with valuable future assets to land a proven arm who can immediately slot into the top of a rotation. Peralta comes off a season in which he made 33 starts, logged 176 innings, and struck out more than 100 hitters. Those numbers alone explain why his name kept surfacing in conversations around elite pitching targets. His ability to miss bats, limit hard contact, and consistently give his team length made him appealing to any club with championship aspiration, especially one like the Dodgers that places a premium on October-ready pitching. For the Dodgers, this development naturally raises questions about priorities and internal evaluations. Peralta was widely viewed as a logical fit, someone who could add another layer of security to a rotation that already has star power but also carries some uncertainty due to workload management and health considerations. Yet, as this deal came together, signals from inside the organization suggested a different mindset. The Dodgers appear comfortable with where they stand, confident that their current group can carry them through the long season and into the postseason without making a splash of this magnitude right now. That confidence is rooted in the depth and upside of the rotation as it is currently constructed. Yoshinobu Yamamoto anchors the staff with his precision and composure, while Blake Snell brings experience, dominance, and the ability to take over games when he is at his best. Shohei Ohtani, even with careful handling, represents a unique weapon whose presence alone changes how opponents prepare. Tyler Glasnow adds another power arm capable of overwhelming lineups. And behind them is a group of young pitchers who have shown flashes of being ready for larger roles. This mix gives the Dodgers flexibility, especially as they weigh whether to operate with a traditional 5-man rotation or lean into a 6-man setup that helps preserve arms over the course of the year. Still, the fact that Peralta landed elsewhere does not exist in a vacuum. It directly elevates the Mets in the broader conversation. New York has been active, responding aggressively after missing out on other high-profile opportunities earlier in the off-season. Rather than retreat, they doubled down, making moves that reflect an understanding that competing at the highest level requires bold decisions. Adding Peralta gives them stability and credibility in their rotation, and it complements a roster that has already been reshaped with an eye toward closing the gap on the league's elite. From a Dodgers perspective, the takeaway is not disappointment as much as it is clarity. The front office is signaling that it believes in its plan, that there is no urgency to force a move simply to win an off-season headline. That does not mean the door is closed on future additions. Trade deadlines have a way of reshaping realities, especially if injuries or underperformance create new needs. The Dodgers have consistently shown that they are willing to strike when the timing aligns with both value and necessity. For now, though, the tone suggests patience and trust in the roster already assembled. At the same time, it is impossible to ignore how the Mets are positioning themselves as a potential obstacle. While questions remain about whether their lineup and pitching depth truly match what the Dodgers can roll out over a full season, the accumulation of talent is narrowing the perceived gap. Peralta's arrival strengthens a rotation that needed a stabilizing presence, and it gives New York a better chance to withstand the grind of the season while remaining competitive in high-leverage games. As spring training approaches, the Dodgers appear content to let this version of the team take shape on the field before making any dramatic adjustments. The focus now shifts to how the rotation slots together, how younger arms compete for innings, and how the coaching staff manages workloads from day one. Confidence can be a powerful thing, but it is also something that will be tested quickly once games begin and expectations collide with reality. The Mets, meanwhile, have made their move, and the rest of the league is taking note as the National League picture continues to come into sharper focus. While the Dodgers are projecting calm and confidence, The rest of the National League is clearly paying attention to the shift created by New York's recent moves. The Mets did not just add another arm, they reshaped the perception of their ceiling. Freddie Peralta stepping into that rotation changes the tone of every potential matchup, especially against teams that rely on patience at the plate. His strikeout ability forces lineups to be aggressive or risk falling behind early. And that is the kind of profile that can swing a postseason series if everything lines up correctly. What makes this situation even more interesting is how it reflects the contrasting philosophies between these two organizations at this moment. The Dodgers are leaning on internal strength, long-term planning, and the belief that their existing core, when healthy and properly managed, is enough to separate them from the pack. The Mets, on the other hand, are operating with urgency. They have recognized that standing still is not an option if the goal is to challenge the top of the league, and they have acted accordingly, even if that means sacrificing future pieces to solidify the present. For Los Angeles, this is not unfamiliar territory. The franchise has often entered seasons with questions swirling around pitching depth, only to navigate those concerns through a combination of development, strategic acquisitions, and elite run prevention from unexpected contributors. There is also an understanding that the trade market looks very different in the middle of the season than it does during the winter. Arms that are unavailable now can suddenly become attainable when circumstances change, and the Dodgers have both the prospect capital and financial flexibility to engage if the situation demands it. Another layer to this conversation revolves around workload management. With pitchers like Yamamoto, Snell, Ohtani, and Glasnow, the Dodgers are not just thinking about April or May. They are thinking about October. Every inning matters, and how those innings are distributed could determine whether the rotation is peaking at the right time. This is where the depth options become critical. Names like Gavin Stone, River Ryan, and Emmett Sheehan represent more than just insurance. They are potential answers to inevitable questions that arise over a 6-month season. Meanwhile, the Mets are banking on consolidation. By bringing in Peralta, they reduce the number of variables in their rotation and give themselves a clearer hierarchy. That clarity can be valuable, especially early in the season when roles and expectations are still being established. It also places more pressure on their lineup to consistently support strong pitching performances, because while the talent is evident, the margin for error against elite teams remains slim. The broader implication is that the National League is no longer a landscape where one team can comfortably coast on reputation alone. The Dodgers are still the benchmark, but teams like the Mets are making it clear that they are willing to push back. That push may not immediately dethrone anyone, but it adds tension and intrigue to potential postseason paths. Every head-to-head series, every late-season matchup starts to carry a bit more weight when both sides believe they belong on the same stage. From the Dodgers' point of view, this moment serves as both a test and an opportunity. It tests the confidence they have publicly expressed in their roster and challenges their internal evaluations to hold up under scrutiny. At the same time, it offers an opportunity for players already in the organization to seize bigger roles and prove that external reinforcements are not always necessary. Spring training will be especially telling, not just in terms of performance, but in how the coaching staff communicates trust and expectations to the pitching staff. As these storylines continue to develop, the focus naturally shifts toward how quickly reality will set in. Once games are played, the Mets have made their statement with Peralta, and the Dodgers have responded not with a counterpunch, but with patience. That contrast sets the stage for a season defined by strategy as much as star power, where timing, health, and adaptability could ultimately matter more than any single transaction. As the conversation keeps unfolding, one detail that cannot be ignored is how the Dodgers' silence on major additions speaks just as loudly as any blockbuster trade. There is a deliberate calm coming from the organization, a sense that they are comfortable letting the noise build around them, while sticking to a plan shaped months in advance. That approach has worked before, especially for a team that values continuity and believes that chemistry and familiarity can be just as impactful as raw talent when the games start to matter most. This also puts a spotlight on the internal competition that is about to take center stage, with several young pitchers hovering on the edge of defined roles. Spring training becomes more than a tune-up, it becomes an audition. Every bullpen session, every exhibition start, carries weight because the path to meaningful innings is wide open. The Dodgers have positioned themselves to let performance dictate decisions rather than reputation. And that kind of environment often brings out unexpected contributors who end up shaping the season. At the same time, the presence of so many established stars creates a unique dynamic. Veterans set the standard, while younger arms are asked to complement rather than replace them. That balance is not always easy to manage, but it is one the Dodgers have navigated successfully in the past. The emphasis is on readiness, on making sure that when opportunities arise, whether due to scheduling, matchups, or inevitable injuries, the next arm up is prepared to deliver without the moment feeling too big. Across the league, the Mets are watching closely, knowing that their own aggressive approach has put them firmly into the spotlight. Expectations rise quickly when moves like the Freddie Peralta trade are made, and with that comes pressure to justify those decisions on the field. Every strong outing will reinforce the belief that they are closing the gap, while every stumble will invite scrutiny. That contrast between expectation and execution is where seasons often swing for the Dodgers. The road ahead is less about reacting and more about observing. They have left themselves room to maneuver without committing to a single narrative. If the rotation thrives as constructed, their patience will be praised. If challenges emerge, they have the resources to respond decisively. That flexibility is one of their greatest strengths, and it allows them to view developments around the league not as threats, but as data points informing their next move. With opening day inching closer, the tension lies in how these philosophies will translate once the standings start to take shape. Confidence without urgency on one side, urgency backed by bold action on the other, and a National League that feels more competitive with each passing decision. The answers will not come all at once, but rather inning by inning, series by series, as these teams begin to reveal who they really are when the season finally gets underway. As the season draws closer, the contrast between these two organizations continues to define the conversation. One is projecting calm confidence, trusting its structure and depth. The other is asserting ambition, reshaping its identity through aggressive choices. Both paths carry risk, and both carry the potential for reward. The real answers will not come from projections or winter headlines, but from how these teams handle adversity once the grind of the schedule begins. When rotations are tested, lineups are adjusted, and the margin for error starts to narrow in ways that only a long season can reveal. But before we move forward, don't forget to join our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest news about the Los Angeles Dodgers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the news, so drop a comment below. The sports radio world was set on fire after an explosive on-air rant by the controversial commentator known among fans as Mad Dog Russo. During a heated segment that quickly went viral, Russo unleashed a dramatic and inflammatory statement aimed at Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, declaring that if Roberts were to lose with a roster this talented, he should be rested. While clearly hyperbolic, the remark has fueled intense speculation across the baseball landscape and ignited a fresh wave of debate around leadership, pressure, and expectations in Los Angeles. Within league circles, the outburst is being interpreted less as a literal accusation and more as a reflection of the enormous weight placed on the Dodgers dugout. Executives, scouts, and rival managers quietly acknowledge that few teams are built with such depth, star power, and financial muscle. When a club like that struggles, even hypothetically, the focus inevitably shifts from players to the man filling out the lineup card. Russo's words, though extreme, echo a sentiment whispered by impatient fans and amplified by talk radio theatrics. Sources close to the organization insist there is no internal panic, but they also admit the noise is impossible to ignore. In a market where championships are treated as obligations rather than dreams, every managerial decision is dissected as if it were evidence in a courtroom. The idea that a respected manager could suddenly be portrayed as a criminal figure, even jokingly, underscores how unforgiving the spotlight can be. Around the league, some see the rant as classic Russo showmanship, designed to provoke reactions and dominate headlines. Others believe it taps into a real undercurrent of frustration that could grow louder if expectations are not met. For now, it remains a rumor-driven storm, built on speculation, emotion, and the unique madness of sports media, where a single shouted sentence can turn into a week-long trial by opinion. That's all for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay up to date with exclusive news about the Los Angeles Dodgers, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We always appreciate your comments and feedback. See you in the next video.